Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to 5.8G Alive. How is your Emancipation Month going? I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. With me, as usual.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus, and we celebrating Emancipation month of August.
Yes, and our theme is looking at legacy with families. And Jennifer, we would have enjoyed a repeat of the concert in week one. Last week, people would have enjoyed that story of the Simonette family,
right? Yes,
and the heritage. And we going full steam ahead. We're moving from Caracas that came to Port of Spain, and now we are going to be anchored in Port of Spain, talking to a legacy family, a legacy business, the bread of life. So join us. We're going to talk to Chee-Mooke Bakery, being a tribe. Okay, 5.8G Tribe. Emancipation is continuing, and we have had beautiful interviews. And yes, you're seeing a lady under there. We're getting into a powerhouse of Afro-Trinidadian entrepreneurship and resilience. We're talking Chee-Mooke Bakery, and we are so happy to have Nathalie Phillips, the HR and Administration Manager of Chee-Mooke Bakery and a direct descendant of the family line here with us. Welcome, Nathalie.
Hi, Nathalie, welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Third generation. Nathalie, let's start. Give us a story of your family. Where did it all start, as far back as you could go?
As far back as I know, my grandfather actually used to work with an older bakery called Crown Bakery, which is no longer in existence. So there was Crown Bakery. He was one of their bakers. Yeah. He got married to this young lady who came all the way from Moruga, right?
Moruga to Port of Spain.
From Moruga to Port of Spain. We believe he came from Barbados, but I need to do some research into his origins. As a baker with his young wife, he decided he would try to, as all entrepreneurs do, you try to start your own thing to help your family survive. I think it was just basic. At that time, this was in the 20s, survival. You want to do your own thing. You don't want anybody telling you what to do. And they started really an at-home bakery. And the legend goes that just where Riverside Plaza is, at that northern western corner of the Riverside Plaza, is where the house used to be. So they used to actually bake bread there. He would get on his carrier bike and ride all over the place selling bread on the road. I was like, how those bread vans do it now? So he had a bread bike. And so he would sell his wares like this. I think we were told he would ride all the way up to the old St. Joseph Road. All along that road, he would ride east and ride back, selling bread. And in the 20s, by the mid to late 20s, he got the opportunity to rent this location where we are at 14, what it would have been 14 Marine, right? He then reportedly sold a piece of land, which is where Hilton now stands. That's what we were told. That was his property, that he sold it to raise the rent for several months to come to this location where there was actually what do we call a brick oven? There was I have memories of that brick oven. So I grew up seeing up to maybe when I was 4 or 5 years old, they used to actually use a brick oven to bake all the bread. And then, he got sick, he passed away. my grandmother remarried to Mr. Chee-Mooke. At that time, he was looking to get a visa to travel. So they changed the name of the business. Even though we were on Marine Square, this area, you know, there's Columbus Park.
Yeah.
There used to be a Columbus bar. There used to be a Columbus hotel. So this was our Columbus Bakery.
Oh, okay.
So this Columbus Bakery, because we were this vicinity of this park, and everything was. We even have one picture of my grandmother and step grandfather with that Columbus hotel or something behind him, or Columbus bar, which would have been next door to the bakery.
Yeah.
So at that point, so we were at that point, 14 Marine Square with Columbus Bakery. They married, he won a visa, so they changed the name to Chee-Mooke Bakery, Chee-Mooke Baking Company in the 20s, middle, like about the 30s, about the mid-30s, I think it was, because Granddad came here 1931. That was how we have that baking since 1931, even though they were baking for at least a few years before.
Yes.
They decided to, not they, we decided when we were changing to a limited liability company to date when Granddad came here to this point, so which kind of predates the fact that it was Chee-Mooke Baking Company by that time, and he had passed. But 1931 is when they came to this location. So this is also one of the oldest baking sites in Trinidad, as far as we know.
Yes.
And at least in Port of Spain, just from the dating of that original brick oven. Right now, all those bricks are in the landscaping of our childhood home in St. Joseph, down when you go down to the back of the property. All these steps are made from the bricks of that oven.
Where in St. Joseph is that? Jennifer knows me, and I am a Trinidad entrepreneurship history buff. And you see that story about your grandfather on a bike selling his bread. I am seeing him passing Anthony A. Sabga, who was riding his little put selling thread and needle, and and a lot of others who, you know, you think about the hub of entrepreneurship at that time, where everybody drove their van and they went door to door, focused on community, and in that way built empires. And the fact that you are still there holding your own, and we'll get to that, it just gives me goosebumps. I am just so excited. And I mean, he's in the middle of the water riots and all that kind of thing.
And also bread riots as well, you know that, right? There was a time when there were actually bread riots. This is around, my uncle who recently passed, he said there was, as he was a child, this was in the 40s, Second World War. There actually was a bread riot. So people were fighting in the park across the road from us, where we know as Tamron Square.
Yes.
Fighting for bread, and I was like, wow, imagine you're fighting for bread. It's like, wow.
Jennifer, is there any question you want to ask Nathalie?
I am just in awe. I can relate, because when I grew up at those days, countryside, I can relate to the guy bringing milk for us, goat milk, on the van, on the riding the bike. Most of, well, now we're using the word entrepreneurs, but most of the who's in the different things came on a bike. So I could, as Terri-Ann said, I could see your granddad actually doing that. And as children running out and you're waving because the bread man coming or the milk man coming or whoever coming. So for you to be part of that history, that is just, it's just fantastic. And I like this story where you all didn't get rid of the bricks from the oven. And again, I grew up knowing the neighbors was really community going into this particular yard where my mom and the others bake bread. So I could relate to that. And for you all to use those bricks for the family home, so it would always be there. That's fantastic. So I just say, oh, I love this story.
I know you all would edit this out. So we actually grew up in Elizabeth Gardens in St. Joseph. My dad, he wanted us to be away from town. so
why did he have a premonition about something?
I don't know. I think when my father grew up here, he was born next door where the IDC building was.
Yes.
Okay. He grew up in this area and he saw the area the demise of the area from what he said was a middle class area down to what it is now, right? He said when they did the Slum Clearance Act, they literally cleared the area of middle class people to make a slum, right?
Okay, that's interesting.
And Izette's, the Bernard, so Clinton, Bernard, and all of those guys, the Chief Justice and all of those lawyers, they are from around here. Kester and Tyler father grew up next door. They used to play football with Daddy across in the Tamron Square. They all went to Nelson Street schools. So all these are people that used to visit. There was in a couple of years before my father passed away, I had a kind of a calling. Whoever came to visit my dad, I would take photographs of them. So I started a collection of who knows Daddy, right? And so I have all these photographs, so like the Clinton Bernard, the Sosas, the Fantalas. There's all these names of Clive Manswell. All these people are people who would have been in either Nelson Street, boys and girls with my father and his siblings. Then Daddy went to St. Mary's College. Then he went on to university in Canada. So then you have all these people would come to Daddy and hail him out. And you'd have Andrew Tanker, you have David Rudder, you have all these people would come. And I just started taking photographs, you know, so I have a whole set of pictures of Daddy.
Nathalie, and you will share them with us because we will run them through
those are on the Chee-Mooke Facebook page. The album is called LTP The Boss.
Yes. LTP?
LTP, Leon Nathalie Phillips.
Okay, LTP The Boss.
LTP The Boss, and that
has
just a whole set of pictures of Daddy and different people coming to visit him at the bakery. Because this is where he was all the time.
Okay.
Even as children, we would go to sleep and Daddy wasn't home, and when we got up, he wasn't there. Even though we would see him on the weekend, because the bakery those days, they don't have the kind of minimum wage hours and 9 hours. So Daddy would be leaving home 5 in the morning and come back home like 9, 10 in the night. The bakery used to open until 9 in the night. Now we can't even do that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Is this how things change?
Nathalie, you know? But as we go along, you would your dad, well, from your grandfather, do you have any stories about the transition of your dad getting back? He went away to study. Did he intentionally come back to the bakery business?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He did come back. He also, his Daddy's claim to fame is Daddy was the first, as he says, the first Black manager at Lever Brothers. Daddy actually worked at Lever Brothers, right? So he worked at Lever Brothers, but Daddy went to study biochemistry. So he's not a baker by profession, but he's a baker by science, right? So that was his approach to making bread. Is very scientific. He doesn't refer to them as recipes. We all call them formula. And for him to procure the formula, we were actually homemade bakery, right? And we have a court case that we won because somebody accused us of not really making homemade bread. But my grandmother lived on his property. Even though we are as big as we are, my grandmother actually lived above the business. My uncles and aunts and my father, they grew up on this property. I actually live on the property now with my son and my little family, right? I actually live in town, right? When you hear I say I live on Independence Square, people are like, where is their house on Independence Square? And I'm like, don't worry, there's a house on Independence Square. But so Daddy...
Now I have to look for it. I never knew that. I would pass the bakery and never thought of that.
The bakery building, and we just have these 2 apartments upstairs, massive apartments. And this is where they would have grown up and did schoolwork. I have the dinner table that my father used to say, he used to lie down naked on the damn dinner table doing his homework, and my grandmother would come and give him some licks because it's like, why are you doing that on the dinner table?
Oh my goodness. No,
so how Daddy got the recipes is when Mamdi, my grandmother, Daphne, so we call her Mama D, she would be, making a batter, or making a dough, and Daddy would give her a mixing bowl, and she would put her ingredients in, and he would follow her around, writing down what she added. And she was a baker by taste and texture. So she didn't have a recipe. you know, so, and Daddy was trying to be consistent and to be able to make a recipe that you could replicate. So he would follow around and he would weigh the mixing bowl until she got what she wanted, and that then became the standard formula.
Recipe, which is the scientific way.
Yeah, so he did it over. So he did that, and we now have what over 70 items that we make, and these are all based on my grandmother's recipes. So the sweet bread that we eat now is a 3-generation-old recipe.
So you have that formulation in a safe somewhere, like the Coca-Cola recipe and the KFC 11 herbs and spices.
Basically, yeah.
And 3 people have the pieces of the formula.
Basically. Yeah. And I love the sweet bread. The sweet bread really tastes like the good old sweet bread. Anytime I'm in Port I fast to get the sweet bread.
When other people make that recipe, it is good. But when my son, well, he generation 4, when he mixes his sweet bread, everybody says somehow it is different and it is more what it is supposed to be. So it's almost as though this thing about the blood and this generational information, he seems to have it. So when he mixes, everything comes out how it's supposed to be. You know, so it's really, for me, it's just interesting when every time Tigana mixes bread, I'm like, wow, they're gonna say the same thing. It's just like how it's supposed to be, you know. So that is just another thing. I don't know if you know whether that's scientific or
a special skill that has been handed down. That special touch.
Yeah, he has that baker's touch that he can bake, he can mix. I mean, so we have generation 4 in training already.
And how old is he?
My son will be 25 on Wednesday, on the 3rd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know where the 25-year-old child from up to now, but he'll be 25 next year. He was just like, you know, he was just like 3 years old and bam, 25.
I know the story. We all know the story. But Nathalie, in terms of making that generational shift, has the family business, the legacy? I would call Chee-Mooke Bakery is legacy.
It's a legacy business, yeah. I have accepted that. It is a legacy business.
What that experience of passing that legacy on, from your position straddling the 4th, you're the 3rd and the 2nd and the 1st. What are some of the memories of business transition that you remember, you can share with us?
For me, I think that it was so smooth, you do recognize that there was a transition because we grew up in this. This is the thing that people don't understand. It's not as though we had a separate life to the bakery. My grandmother lived upstairs the bakery. I grew up in this bakery. Every weekend I would be here with my grandmother. I would go to church from here across the road with my grandmother. And not that I do now, but
the foundation in here.
I grew up knowing this is what I was going to be doing. At some point in my life, I was like 6 years old and saying, what can I do? There's work to be done. What can I do? And they gave me a job of picking up paper. So I grew up in this business and what is that? Have been promoted from picking up papers on the floor, then sweeping. Then when I was 8 or 9 when I was cashing. Remember those register, the NCR register, you had to punch
yeah.
And you crank it. That's what I learned to cash on. I knew my 30, when children were doing 12 timetables, I was doing like 35 and 45 timetables because that was the price of a bread at the time. So I was counting early and just doing what you're seeing. My grandmother was alive, so I used to see her working. I used to help her fry donuts when we used to do that. I used to help her sugar them. So we literally grew up in the business. And I don't think that what was done was intentional, but it was just what they did. I think that what they did was actually, it was just natural for them because Mamdi was doing her thing. So really the start was Mamdi and Granddad, Pa Alec. And then my father and his siblings grew up in the business. So they were going to school, have to come back and work. That's what we did. And when we were small, we had to do the same thing. I was wearing uniforms like everybody else. I had to wear the damn head tie. I had to take a break. I had to be on time. You can't overstay a break. There was no, that is the boss child. So I had to get any different treatment. Once I'm in my uniform, I was a worker.
Yeah.
I get dressed up like everybody else. I do shippiness. I get my buff up. And when I put on my home clothes, then I was Nathalie, the boss daughter.
Yes.
Right.
Is that Pa Alec behind you?
Yes, that's yeah. This is Arthur Alexander Phillips here. Pa Alec.
Yes. Yes.
I was supposed to look like him, and I'm supposed to look like my dad. So I think I look like him, but I don't know.
Oh God, that is so exciting.
The way that he stands, that's how my father actually stood. Daddy had the same kind of stance as him.
Okay.
So yeah, so Daddy would have started preparing us for trade. My brother's the only one who intentionally went to study baking and food technology, but we basically were given a kind of a freedom. So like I did fashion, so my first degree is actually fashion with business admin.
Yeah.
But of course, because I'm so entrenched in this baking life, when I came back, the first thing I did, I said, Daddy, we need to change our uniforms. We cannot continue white dresses. Because the guys were in pants, and I made everybody have, khaki pants. We changed the shirts. I used different patterns to introduce color into our uniforms. Because it was all white, like a shirt dress.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We had a little shirt dress with a zip down the front, 2 little hip pockets. I hated that dress, but
well, you got the opportunity.
So as soon as I got it, I said, hey, everybody khaki pants and a polo. Well, shirts, and then eventually we now wear polos because this is easier to look after, and you don't have to worry about, because I did a whole set of uniforms in like cotton. It was a cotton, a polyester, it was a plain cotton striped shirt, which looked good. But I think that the time is gone. Their polos now is more convenient, it's more economical. You don't have to worry about losing buttons, and then buttons not going to get off into product.
Yes.
So that was that. And my sister, she actually did theater and television production. So when she came back, she did an ad, and so she worked on images and that kind of thing. So that the skills that we acquired outside of the bakery were influenced by the bakery.
Yeah,
and then
the business, yeah.
And then reapplied back into the business. So I think what has happened was a happy accident with a very good outcome, because we all have an obligation. We all understand that without this bakery, without this business, we would really not have what we have. We would not have had the opportunities that we had as children, and traveling and going to study abroad and experiencing those things. If we didn't have this bakery, my father's generation would not have had that, and then we would not have had that. And our children would not be able to enjoy the same privileges and responsibilities,
Yeah. Nathalie, that gives us a phenomenal segue into, because we understand here that from the 20s, your great-grandfather put the foundation that allowed the Phillips family to continue to thrive. Not survive, thrive, educate children, and so on. And it is striking that the bakery, the business, has not moved from its moorings, because it went from Riverside Plaza as a home shop. I could imagine the tub oven with fire on top and fire below behind there. And then it moved to its current location. So your establishment has seen that community change. And if I ask you the question, what does Chee-Mooke Bakery therefore mean to its community?
Let me see. On Saturday, when I was going to the credit union to do my video presentation, the driver actually knew me, but not knew me like a person. He turned around and he said, "You're Miss Chee-Mooke?" And I said, "Yes, I'm Miss Chee-Mooke." And he said, "When I was small, I used to live on Duncan Street. And your father would call us on Saturday evening, and when we were closing, and he would give away all of the rest of the sweets to the children on the block."
Okay.
Right? And he remembers that. I mean, this is somebody I really don't know. And maybe I know him, seen him.
But he knows you.
But he knows me. And he knew that I was my father's child. And remembers about my father doing, and the community seems to, because we support our community in different ways, They have little events for the children. I mean, when I was small, I used to play on this blocker. I was not allowed to come off the block, but we used to ride or roller skate or skateboard around and run around this block, not just do come off the block. The only place we're allowed to play is across any Taman Square if we had to cross the road. I think that the community knows that we are here for them by ways of employment, by ways of different types of assistance, in different, you know, whether we have to sponsor a little football side or, you know, a children event or a church thing or the steel pans, because that's another big part of our contributions to the steel pan fraternity, and a lot of it coming from this area. I think they appreciate us as just a long-standing member of the society who is willing to support everybody, that we get their support. I think we've earned their support, you know?
Yeah.
So that remember when under, I think it was under, was it Neil Garcia, Tony Garcia? There was that guy who was at HEC. When they made the announcement that they were Noel Garcia, when they made the announcement that they were going to demolish East Fortescue, people didn't even worry about their own homes, but they said, you can't move Chee-Mooke. And it was like, we were in that meeting and it was like, what is going on with these people? They're saying the mash up all this studying about us, let us worry about us, but they support us because I guess we support them. And I think it might be as simple as that.
Yeah, it stands on, and probably it's unfair to ask you that question.
I think not to cut, but I think also, remember, this is not like a bigger business where you don't see who the bosses are. You see us. We are right there, front and center, working with our workers, so that people know that's the boss. Even at one point when you hear Chee-Mooke, you assume it's Chinese people. So you have some people who come and they want to see Mr. Chee-Mooke, and I'm like, there's actually nobody here named Chee-Mooke. Right? That person has passed. Right? And even Uncle Robert, who's the only son of Chee-Mooke, he has also passed, but he never really works in the bakery. Maybe when he was younger, but I remember he was the deputy mayor, so that he never really worked here for long. As in my memory of him, he was away. He was teaching at Maryland or Baltimore State University. His wife worked here for a while. Then their daughter would have been here as a child, but not really living in Trinidad. So yeah, people, they see us, they know us. This is one thing I think that even the next generation needs to understand. People recognize you, and all they want is a hi. They don't need you to give them a hug up or to sit down and have coffee with them. They just want acknowledgement. You know? So when people hail you out as a Chee-Mooke, it's just, hey, how are you going? And I say, you know, thanks for your support, because it's generally somebody who knows you as a customer. So I just say, hey, hi, how are you doing? A little, you know, kind of a smalls, but that makes their day. Yeah. So you see, sometimes like my son, I have to say, listen, people know you. So it's just a smile. All you have to do is smile. There's no, you don't have to have a long talk, say, hey, how are you going? Hey, I'm busy, and get away. But you can't be annoyed because people calling it, because they know you. They know you as a baby Tigana, just like I was a baby on the counter. Right? Yeah. I grew up, when I say I grew up here, I seriously mean I grew up in this building. Yeah. I grew up here. My grandmother used to have me in a cot on the counter. Everybody used to pick me up. Everybody.
Everybody on.
Yes, everybody used to
while they wait on their bread, Nathalie, they have you rocking.
Yeah. I had some old, I mean, and I am 54. I'm gonna be 55 next year. But yeah. I'm talking about maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There was a little old lady, one of my grandmother's friends, who she would see me in town and say, don't play a pass in the street, you know. I used to pick you up in your diapers. And I'm like, Miss Ursula, that's her name. I keep trying to remember, Miss Ursula. And she, like my paws raising, and she would, wherever she saw me, I'm like, I didn't even try to pass the woman straight, but she would always say that to me, like playing, she embarrassing me, like you're playing thing now, but I used to pick you up as a baby in a little diaper, you know. I was like, oh Lord, okay, Miss Ursula, thank you for that memory. So that, you know, yeah, so that.
And I suppose with that foundation, it has never does the business have plans for expanding out of Port of Spain or ever perish the thought of moving from that location?
We actually have, when around that same time when they were talking about the demolition and the regentrification of Southeast Port of Spain, we did talk about trying to find another location, and those things haven't happened that way. Then there was the whole project stalled. So our thoughts stalled, but we always have been thinking because this building is not a purpose-built bakery.
Yeah.
Right. This building, the original building was like it seemed to be like almost like a mall at some point, but not a same mall, not a mall as we know a mall.
I know exactly. Barber shops, artisan shops.
There used to be a open courtyard that you could drive into the gateway, and there were different stores along. So the Kay's, I think was it Kay's shirt factory was in one part of the building.
Wow,
and then,
Kay's.
And there was like a leather person. So there were different people, and the bakery was at the back. But when my grandfather and grandmother rented the property, it became all of our building. And then so they knocked down walls and converted the space into what we kind of know now. Then Daddy covered over the courtyard, and that now houses one of the ovens. Our ovens are not very small ovens. People seem to think we maybe have 100 small ovens, but we have an oven that is almost like 2 or 3 rooms big. It's like, they're like 20 by 20 foot massive, purpose-built rooms for fire. We've had a fire here that we didn't know was going on. How we found out is when the fire brigade pulled up in front of the bakery saying, Chee-Mooke, everything okay? All you on fire? And we were like, no, we have no fire here. And when we came inside to look at the oven, the fire is raging in the oven. They were seeing this because this oven has like 3 chimneys. So they were seeing the smoke billowing out of the chimneys, and we inside here working as normal, We normal. We want to know what these 3 or 4 tenders pull up in the bakery, and we're like, when we come outside, the road block off. Imagine the what is that? Rice and Road headquarters. Come right here, and we don't have a fire, and it's only when we look in the oven then we realize, oh God, bread on fire.
Bread burning.
It was bread for breadcrumbs. For bread. We make breadcrumbs. And so somebody was trying to cheat and turned up the fire, but then left the oven unattended. And I think they call them to work on the van or something. So then nobody knew about that particular thing going on in the oven. And so the ovens have proven that they can contain fire. They are made for that.
Wow. And
look, the fire officers, they may protecting their bread. We had no ideas. Only when they opened the oven and then we started getting smoke upstairs. Even that's when I found out, because I was one of the last to know, because where my office is, it's actually kind of above one of the ovens. And I was like, what's going on downstairs? How come where's all this smoke coming from? And I go downstairs, I see this back and all going on. It's like, wow.
Nathalie, that's good information to know too, because I couldn't imagine. I guess most people thought would be like smaller ovens, several that you see. Sometimes you just put the bread and pull out and you go to the next one. But it's interesting that it's very, large, that size ovens that you all use. Yeah.
Chee-Mooke bakes a lot of bread.
What I was saying, Nathalie, is that was really great information. Because like most people, I thought you all will have several small ovens. From the front, to me, when you pass it, you won't imagine that you have such large ovens to the back. And probably that's how you could produce so much, that quantity.
Yeah, and these ovens hold, one of them holds about 80 sheets. And when I say sheets, these sheets are like 18 by 26. So these are massive baking trays. We have 2 ovens that size, and then we have another oven that holds like about 60 sheets.
So I think, when people look at Chee-Mooke Bakery, and to the public, Chee-Mooke Bakery is that little front. So I'm making a point. Chee-Mooke, when people think Chee-Mooke Bakery, I think it's easy, as Jennifer is saying, to not understand the scale. And there are 2 dimensions of scale here, because when we look at businesses that have survived from the 30s, to now under the same ownership. And that's so critical. There are many businesses that post, well, it's almost 100 years, but you pass 100 years because the 20 is gone. All right.
Well, yeah, in truth and in fact, but we are going with the 1931 date, so that's why we stick to that.
Yeah, 9 years.
Because we came to this location, so we count from when they came in 1931.
Right. So 9 years to 100 years with the same business in the same family. And because that front door where you go to buy your bread, it looks like it fits into the community. It's a small shop. I think the second type of scale is that people don't know just how much production comes out and how critical you are for feeding your community. So I make the point that there are two areas of scale. There's scale of time under the same family. I don't know many other businesses, probably the Bermuda's Biscuit Company can boast of that kind of longevity and history under the same family. Some conglomerates may have existed for long, but it's a matter of buying companies and adding companies. And the second is because of how you are structured, people don't appreciate the scale of your production and how much you feed. So if we are to talk about your catchment area, because I know you have vans and so on, what would you call your core markets?
Our core market, boy.
Where your vans go?
Our vans, we run from as far west as down Chagaramas, to as far east as Arima, and down to Point Fortin.
So you're national.
Basically. And you have some people who areas we don't go to, so they come and buy bread in bulk and freeze it, and then every week they come and buy that level of bread. So they don't have to keep coming every day. So they just buy a bunch of bread, take it home, fridge it, freeze it, and then come again next week and buy the same amount because the van doesn't get to their area.
Nathalie, I think I have underestimated Chee-Mooke in a big way. I am one I love. I mean, when I'm in Port of Spain, in the early days, I was going market Charlotte Street, and you must go to Chee-Mooke after, my sweet bread and pies. And I saw Chee-Mooke just as what the front, you're running up, step, you go in, you buy, and you come out. Although I would see Chee-Mooke vans passing, but somewhere along the line, I just saw that storefront, you know, where I could get the bread or the sweet bread, like how my mother, as they say, that's how your mother used to make it. So I am so happy to hear you see that many, I mean, our audience listening in, maybe like me, underestimated Chee-Mooke. So congrats.
Thank you very much. And what I would say as well to that, when you talk about scale, is also scale of customers, right? Yeah. Because we have been serving generations of citizens. People come and they'll tell you, my grandparents used to bring me here, or my great-grandparents used to bring me here. Or so you would have, so that our story is not just our story, is a much wider community of people that we serve. You have people every time they travel and come home, they come sometimes they don't buy anything. They just come to see if we're still here. You know, or they come and they'll buy something ridiculous like one currant roll just to get that taste. You have some people come and buy like a whole currant rolls are made like in a log, is a long stick, and then you slice it into the sections. And some people come and buy those logs of currant rolls and they take it away and they freeze it and they say they cut it thin so it'll last as long as
like communion.
Yes.
Oh goodness. No, that's I really am happy that we're doing. I was happy that we're doing the interview, but now we're doing it. I'm even happier that we're doing it. Because the scale of really what this business is, because when we think baking companies, we think about the other baking company in terms of reach and breadth and stuff. Yes, you may not be the size of that baking company, but that baking company does not focus on heritage and the real traditions and things like that. And your family business is so family, and it has provided well for the family. So it's not a kind of, as they say, catching the tail business, that your son can see a future in this business and generationally going forward. And I think that is key.
Yeah.
What are some of the values that you believe has been running through since, is it Pa Alec that started it?
Pa Alec and Daphne, yeah.
Pa Alec and Daphne started at the Riverside Plaza and then moved to Independence Marine Square, and you are there now. What are some of the values that you believe are shoring up Chee-Mooke Bakery?
I would say consistency.
Mhm.
Consistency, integrity, because you can't try to rob people. You need to give a fair product for a fair price.
Those are big ones.
Sorry?
Those are two big ones, you know.
Yeah.
Consistency,
Those are they kind of tie everything else in, into consistency in like your time, how you work. Even though no 2 days here are the same, every day is crazy in its own way. But we get it done. We have a very, even though I would say it's kind of loose, we have a strong, once the workers, we know how you can see how the day is gonna run. We just keep our heads down and we do what we have to do. I'm an HR manager, right? But if they tell me that we're short staff, when we say short, we're short staff, I will go downstairs and bag bread. I'll go and push racks. And those are things I used to do when 20 years ago. I don't need to do it. But if we're short, I will go downstairs. They'll come and say, Nathalie, could you do 1 or 2 trips? I will go and deliver bread. So there are on occasions that there are customers who would see me personally and say, hey, Miss Chee-Mooke, you come and drop first bread today. Yeah, because I had to.
Nathalie, you know what?
Uh-huh.
No, I say what comes to mind as you're chatting there in terms of values and things, is loyalty. I am, that comes to me a lot, loyalty, not just in terms of your own family, but to your customers, and you just gave an example that you would serve the customer needs. You won't leave your customer hanging. You'll do all what you can to make sure that you satisfy that need.
Yeah. What about your staff? What about your staff? Do you have long-standing staff also?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have quite a few workers who are reaching like 15, 20 years.
Wow.
Which is not something that people say is to be proud of, but we are proud of them because they're like part of our family.
Yes.
We had 2 supervisors who recently, when I say recently, but within a couple of years ago, Miss Salma Naji and Maureen Blackman. These 2 ladies were with us since I was coming out of primary school into secondary school. So over 30 years, they were with us since my grandmother was alive, actually, because they both knew my grandmother.
Yeah.
And then we knew them when they were young women. They were like almost like second and third mothers to me. There are some things that I wouldn't even talk to my mom about, but I could talk to Miss Selma about.
Yeah.
Right. When I started thinking I was going through menopause, I spoke to her because my mother's too excitable. So I spoke to Miss Salma, and she's the one who kind of talked me through what should happen. And so for me, they're like extended family. Sometimes I refer to when my son Tigana, I say, hey, give Auntie Angel a kiss, which is one of these staff, right? Angel knows Tigana since he was a little baby, and so it's these overlapping generations of people in our lives as well that I think we have a kind of a glue that happens. It's not planned, but this is how
it's called organic growth. That's the name.
Because you were talking about the scale. There's something I remember. There was one time that we interviewed a young lady. My brother interviewed her actually, because this is really his story, and he was very upset. because after he came asking about what I think is success and whatnot, and the young lady basically told him, how come you all are, at that time you were about 70, 80 years, maybe about 6 years, because this is a good while ago. She told him, how come, Chee-Mooke, you all are here so long and you all still only have one branch, right? How come you all not like all over the place like KISS? And she was questioning our success based on face value, perceived
building.
right?
Yes.
And he deeply hurt because he was like saying he didn't understand how to process what he took as a kind of an insult. And I said, listen, partner, I said, success is what you define it to be. I said, when you go anywhere, sometimes Stokely studied in Germany. He's sure to meet somebody in Germany who could see him and sing that jingle. We could go, I used to try to not lime, and when I came back from university, I used to try not to lime in Port of Spain because everybody would be, hi, how are you going? So, and I just wanted a rest from the Chee-Mooke. I wanted to let me just be Nathalie. Let me just be Nathalie. I don't have Chee-Mooke stamp on my head. So let me just rest and be Nathalie. So I used to go to Lime, like in Arima, Guay. I used to go far, far, just to not be in town. I don't want to be in the Avenue. I don't want to be in St. James. I would go Arima and party. I used to go San Fernando. I used to go Guayga, Yari, and Lime, just to not be in town. And town, they say you could take the, what it is, whatever. Could not get away from Chee-Mooke because I would go somewhere. I was driving in Grandy. So this little lady, when it was hot, I said, I can't leave this lady in the sun. So I offered her a drop. This is Sandy Grandy. This is like going Manzan way. So this lady, and I given this woman a drop. And she's only watching me. So I'm like, Lord, this is it. She's gonna ask me this question, right? So I said, so how are we going? How far are you going? So no, where I have to drop this lady off. And she said, your father used to work in Eva Brothers? And I'm like, lady, yes, my father. Your father is Mr. Phillips? Yes, my father is. So you Chee-Mooke daughter? I was like, yes. So this lady, out in the middle of Grandy, Sangre Chiquito, make me out from the side of my face, knowing that I'm Phillips' daughter, and she used to work at Lever Brothers. And and then she talked about, yes, I see you all keeping up your father work. And very good. And I was like, pause raising again. And I was like, wow, I can't hide. So I stopped going far to hide. I might as well stick and take it from someone. So they said, reach home fast.
All right. Natalie, and if we could branch out, because it's clear we understand the legacy, we understand the business, and you have our warmest and heartiest congratulations. Have you all gotten to online ordering for the van to come and deliver to different areas? Have you gotten there yet?
We do that, but not a true online, but we have two things. We actually have Food Drop, which is Tigana's initiative. Tigana's the one who really wanted us to get into Food Drop. So Tigana has done all of his homework, and we actually have a Food Drop account. So people have been
about it. Talk to us about it. Yeah.
Food is, I don't know, the app, there's an app called Food Drop.
Yeah.
Go to visit the online restaurant and you select what you want, and I actually receive it on my computer, and they basically send somebody to pick up your order, and it's a door-to-door service. So we just process and package what you choose, and send to you through the drop, so that you pay them and then they pay us. And that has been quite nice. And then we also do where I've been trying to get the rest of the family to understand this about. We basically, our orders are really wholesale orders. The bulk of our deliveries are wholesale to people who resell. And this is one of the things that even in that same story about my brother, I said, even though we don't have 300 Chee-Mookes across Trinidad and Tobago, we do have 200.
You have 300 Chee-Mookes. You have a van.
We have vans. We service at least 200 different customers every day who sell our bread. We don't, and that's the thing, I said to myself, listen, Mercedes-Benz doesn't really have to advertise. KISS has to advertise. They know what they're selling, but we know what we're selling too.
Yeah.
Daimler Benz does not advertise.
Yes, yes.
The only thing
Yes.
was just a little symbol.
Good.
And so don't worry about it. I said she could say what she said, but if you don't understand what success is, not all of us driving BMWs. The success is that we have been servicing people in our community for generations without any stoppage, and we continue to do so.
Yeah.
That is what our success is, that people can go, I could go to drop something for somebody, and if I carry bread, like we support Terri-Ann, that's all of us play with Terri-Ann Juve, right? And when you go to drop things to them, somebody must sing the song.
But I'm thinking people who want to, if somebody were to call Chee-Mooke to find out, is there a van in my area? Is that possible?
Yes, we do that. Well, I use people WhatsApp me when you go through the Facebook page. A lot of orders have come through that way. So through WhatsApp and Facebook, they'll message. I will want to receive that message, and I'll process it. And if a van is getting into that area, I send it. So there'll be a retail order on a wholesale van.
Yeah.
But there's the correct in the correct processes. They receive the goods via that way. So it's generally through actually those kind of orders come via me. If it's something too big, then I hand it across to the sales manager. But if it's smaller retail orders, I just go and process it and say, hey, this person, I get the number, and we send it to them. So that is something that we do.
And a current roll log is a good thing. It's about how long? A 24-inch current roll log?
It's like about 26 inches.
It's like a garlic bread.
Basically, a garlic bread may be a bit shorter because the garlic bread runs the other way. It would be about 18 or 19 inches. So this is actually big. It's plenty. If we cut it for you, because we could cut those on a machine, and you'll get like about 44 mini slices, like a little cocktail slice. So like 2-3 bites. So
no, I want to cut my communion. I want to cut my communion.
We have roll forever.
And Nathalie,
that's good to know too, Nathalie. So if you're having any function, we could order like that, because I always thought it would be just to the wholesalers.
We have a whole range of other stuff that we produce for like what we like cocktail and mini sizes. So we do a lot of orders for catering. We actually do. And then also, like, you have people who may want these special types of bread that is not generally available. The size of our bakery and the way that Daddy set up the production, it is small enough that we could add in different things that are not on our production lines.
So you do like multi-grain breads and specialty breads for
So it's like people have been asking for brioche, but we don't make brioche to sell. Our market generally they're not brioche customers. But if you want to get brioche dinner rolls, we would make that particular custom order just the way that we were set up. When Daddy chose to change equipment in his time, he chose equipment that, as I told somebody, the equipment needs people. He could have set up an automated bakery that needed fewer persons, but he wanted to be able to provide employment. So he chose production lines that you need to have at least 2 persons per station to ensure that we could provide employment to people in our area.
And that is another reason that Chee-Mooke and its community.
That's actually, in talking to him, at least this is what he said, that, you can't just set up a business that does not need people, because people are buying. Why would you not want to ensure that you could provide employment?
Exactly.
So this is one of my things that I admire about my dad. He was a capitalist, but not a good capitalist. He was more, I think you'd probably call it maybe like a social democrat or something.
There were just different models of capitalism. That's all.
I think he was not good because he wasn't all about just making money. It wasn't just pure money. There was a social aspect for him that he needed to
social capitalist. Don't worry, he's still a capitalist.
Just as my grandmother was. There's some people who remember my grandmother doing similar things to as my dad. Where they give a lot, and I think that just the amount of goodwill that we have is I think we are still surviving on a level on goodwill.
And goodwill.
Yeah.
Because COVID has not been good. We have lost maybe about 30 to 40% of our sale, but we try to maintain all of our workers, which we have done. We have like 60 to 70 workers. And we really tried to keep everybody on during the time. We were lucky not to have closed, but that did have some repercussions, even though those people who did not shut down for the pandemic, right? It really wasn't easy. For me personally, I took it upon myself to go and pick up my workers. And people sometimes don't understand. So I remember when we had the curfew, they couldn't get transport.
Yeah.
Our work begins in the night, 10 o'clock in the night. And at that time, I remember the curfew was 9 o'clock. I used to go and pick up people in Chagona, Sanarima, Santa Cruz, Lavantil to make sure we could open the next day. And then the ones who have to come and sell the bread, I had to go get up 3:30 to go Malik, Santa Cruz, Diego Martin, Maraval, St. Anne's.
You have a bus?
Actually, we converted a bread van into a bus. So I actually took a bread van and I put what we call our bread bins. We turn them upside down so we made seats. And I would do 3, 4, 5 trips because according to the shift, I didn't want to overload the van with like too many. So we would like have 5 or 6 persons in the vehicle. I would just make my trips to make sure we could sell. It doesn't make sense to bring out production workers alone and we can't sell the bread. So I would go and pick up production, bring them, they could get home in the daylight. And then in the early mornings, I would then go and pick up the sales staff. And just to make sure, because if it is, we didn't make sure that the human resources were here, then we would have maybe lost 100% of the sales.
Yeah.
And we would have a 4 shutdown.
Nathalie, I'm looking at the time and I do want to get into another aspect of your life. And I think it's your family life that extends. And I know you are a strong cooperator. How did this all emerge? Is that part of the Chee-Mooke legacy? Is it part of the bakery? How did it emerge?
Okay, so in 1988, straight out of school, I went to St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph, and straight out of school, I together with, and I'll put myself third because it was together with Robert Young, Camille Salvon, and Adele Todd, we started this company called The Cloth, right? The Cloth Design Group. So I was part of that. So out of school, I was walking home that day after school, met Robert, we ended up in the same taxi. We were talking about, because I used to make clothes for myself, for my teachers. I actually have been sewing quite a long time. I remember I mentioned that my first degree is fashion.
Fashion, yeah.
So I, together with, and then Camille Salvon was in my class in school and Adele Todd was Robert's friend. So we together, we evolved into this, The Cloth. Robert wanted to be a priest. He was actually called Man of the Cloth, and then we shortened the name to The Cloth. This is how he remains with the name. And out of, that was like 1986, yeah, so I came out of A-levels in 86. We were working together. At that time, we were just doing clothes because we like clothes, and we used to want to see how many people had on our clothes and parties. So we would go to parties to count and see how many outfits we made for those parties, right? This is the level we were at. We were like, 18, 19, 20 years old at that time. And around that time, coming up to 1988 is when recession hit. And Daddy said, literally, he said to me, Nathalie, we have a ticket for you to go to England. Go and see what you could do in England. So I literally was ripped out of The Cloth to go, and then basically I got into the fashion school. And so because in my mind, I was going to be going to do fashion. Since I had to leave, I'm going to go and do fashion and come back. And I'm going to come back with The Cloth. And well, when you travel and you learn and you things will work out when you come back. Everybody kind of grows in different directions or on parallel kind of roads in different directions or whatever. And so things didn't work out when I came back. Being with The Cloth, I actually worked with them like on a contract basis and doing different things for them. And to go to university, Daddy tried to get a loan to pay for the tuition at that time, which was crazy. I think it was like $250,000 for the course in Nottingham Trent University, right? And the bank blanked him. Daddy always said, Nathalie, I got that loan from the credit union, Cathedral Credit Union. That he was a member of. I think my grandmother may have been one of the founding members based on her age and her being in this community as well. Yes. But I really don't know. I would have to see if that is really true to know. Well, it would have been 3 generations of us being members of that, of Cathedral. And shortly after I came back home in 91, so like the year of the coup, I was in England. I was very upset. I was like, I woke up this Saturday morning, someone called and said, Nathalie, you're not from Trinidad? like you'll turn on your TV, and then there was Trinidad and Tobago on the news and BBC, you know, while I'm Saturday morning sleeping in after a party in Nottingham. And that was like I should be home, why, you know, and then we couldn't get through with all the phones and whatnot at the time.
And it's Port of Spain, you're worried if the bakery
all of that. But that's another piece of story with that, what happened to us during.
I said you were protected by your community, I am sure.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
So I came back home, and within the year, Daddy kept reminding me, Nathalie, the credit union is just on the street. Remember, Cathedral used to have its main branch down on the corner of Nelson Street in Agostini building.
Yeah.
So that's where the credit union was. Every day, Daddy was like, Nathalie, go and join the credit union. I'm like, oh God, all right. Okay, Daddy, I will go. And he insisted, go and until I just said, okay, I will go. And I went. I just marched down the road, annoyed, because every day this man only telling me, credit union. He said, I don't care, you have to join, because if it was not for the credit union, you would not have gone to university. So he, again, this obligation, and he said, and the loyalty, as Jennifer correctly said, he said, go to the and join. And then I think like a year later, at that time, Cathedral was having issues with membership and people attending meetings, and they were going through whatever kind of negative stuff at the time. They needed people to come to the AGM, to have the AGM. So they can't remember who it was. They walked up here because Chee-Mooke would have had, we encourage all of our workers to join our credit union. We consider Cathedral our Chee-Mooke Bakery Credit Union. So we have right now maybe 40 staff members are members of this credit union. So at that time, they came up looking for people to attend the AGM, and a set of us said, okay, right, we come in. So we went down. I think that meeting was probably, half of it was Chee-Mooke workers, for them to be able to have the meeting. And out of that meeting, I ended up being called to the board as I don't even, what is it? When you're not on the board, you're an alternate.
Alternate member, yeah. Alternate member.
So I was at that time with that was when it was Mr. Martineau and Mr. Kennedy. I can't remember all the names at the time. So I was called to the board. And when I asked, why did you all choose me to come? I don't know anything about the credit union. Why are you all doing this to me? And they said, no, this is, we're throwing you in the fire for you to learn. So then I had to, even though I was an alternate, I had to attend all the meetings to really understand what was going on. And I just never stopped. Yeah. So since that time, the only reason I stopped and I came off of the board is when I was pursuing my degree, my second degree in cooperative studies in Cipriani. And when I needed time to complete assignments and to complete the dissertation is when I said I would go up. I never submitted my nomination paper. And then at the meeting, that was in 2017, when they said to Nathalie, are you going to present yourself on the floor? I was like, nope, I'm not going back up. I need to finish my degree, right? And that was it. So all of my years of working in the cooperative movement has been really, the origins are Chee-Mooke origins.
Wow.
You know?
Nathalie, this has been so, I think we have to have a part 2 of Chee-Mooke. I think we have, this is a great example, isn't it, Jennifer? In terms
yes, I mean, Nathalie, I love, the story is such I don't know. You said you got goosebumps. You know, you get goosebumps when you speak about certain situations. And as you speak, I feel, say, wow, boy, it's really something else. It's really something else. You see, when you mention also that your workers as much as 20 years at the company, and people say, normally, as what we may call the low-level staff, you find you have quick movement. They have no reason to stay. And I think the only reason I could see them staying is because of how they were treated as family. I mean, there's so many lessons in your stories, and I know there's so many stories that you can tell.
Well, I'll tell you something, Nathalie. Chee-Mooke and you are now officially a part of the CONEC-TIONS 50+ family. And now that I know I will find you to get some current slug rolls delivered to us, especially when we have events and different things like that, and beef pie and all the different things that could come out of Chee-Mooke Bakery. And definitely we will post your numbers on your Facebook page and your
Yes.
numbers. You're certainly going to get a lot of people calling you because they saw you on the show and they need to know about
Yeah.
No problem. The best way to contact me is via WhatsApp. If once you're
WhatsApp.
willing
Yes,
to.
the WhatsApp number. And you can
So
just
when
give us the
I say
WhatsApp
willing-
number.
Sorry?
You can just say your WhatsApp number.
1-868-684-6601.
That's so 684-6601. That is
Yeah.
the access to real bread, real, and it can be frozen.
And if it is you have like a special baked item you want to get, a custom-made item,
And one day, Jennifer and I will come and get a tour of the bakery. I want to do that.
It is quite interesting.
Nathalie, any closing words that you would like to share with our membership? As we say, we're celebrating emancipation and we are highlighting the successes that are hidden in plain sight in front of us. So I'd let you give parting words to our audience as we close out.
I would say whatever you have to do it afraid, go brave.
Yeah.
Do the needful, do the right things by people, and you will be rewarded.
Exactly.
Karma is a serious thing. And your energy, invest your energy in the right things, not just money. Invest your energy and your love and your passion into things that will serve you.
You all have done such wonderful work and continue to do it. So all success to Chee-Mooke Bakery.
Nathalie, we certainly will bring you back at another time to talk more about different aspects of business and so on. But thank you
Sure.
very, very much. Okay.
You're very welcome. Welcome. It was a pleasure.
Terri-Ann, what a history. I have learned so much. I am so proud of Chee-Mooke. I mean, there is nothing else I can add, but there's so much more she can add. So we would love to have Nathalie back at some stage, maybe on a different aspect of business, etc.
I think, Jennifer, we have to go into September with a part 2 because we have to bring Hazel back to continue the work of what
Yes.
does the development of community, and we have to bring Nathalie back.
So, I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful, conversation with Nathalie. And of course, we are letting you know we continue. This is every week for the month of August. We may go to September, yes, with our Emancipation series. So thank you for being with us. Enjoy the month of August.
Take care and bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Great.
50 Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.